Hello, Monarchs. Welcome to another Monty's Career Monday, #MCM. This is our Manzano High School production where we talk to different people from around the state and country about their career story and how they came to find themselves in their current position. They will tell us their story behind their career choices and include details such as obstacles they had to overcome, education they received, skills and training they acquired, and much, much more. Their stories will hopefully inspire you on your journey to self-discovery as you embark on your own career story. Today, we are going to begin with Marcus Porter. He is the Vice Chairman of the Democratic Party of New Mexico, CEO of his own marketing company, a motivational speaker, a board member, an activist, and overall master of the universe. Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. You are wearing a lot of hats. So I'm just going to let you start at the beginning of maybe young Marcus in high school and how you got to be where you are today.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Ms. Chavez. Marcus in high school was a little different than now. I'd say I was an introvert. I like to make jokes, which gets you a certain amount of friends, but I was really a private, kind of closed person, mostly because I was still in the closet at that point. So that really makes you kind of shrinks your world quite a bit. But I did see the value of education, whether I liked being in school or not, but I saw the value of education. And, you know, back in that day, you could do it in person, which was a lot easier, I think, than now virtually. But I strive to do well. I'd say I'm not much of an overachiever at that point. One thing I'm not the most proud of is that I realized that I could do well without trying really hard. So I was like, okay, a B plus is fine. I'm not going to try that hard. But once I got out of high school, into college, and I was paying for the education, I started to take it a little more seriously. But again, I always knew the value of it because at a younger age, in elementary school really, my thirst for education was sparked. I had a lot of teachers that would let me explore whatever I wanted to explore from one topic to another. Astronomy was a big one for me. I still read a lot about astronomy. I mean, quantum physics and things like that. It interests me, so I educate myself about it. And that's one thing I really like about the times now. You can educate yourself on whatever topic you want, and you'll be better for it. The basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, things like that are fine. But if you get a desire for education, then, the world's your oyster, as they say. So that did happen. I was into politics back then too. I didn't explore it as much in high school. But once I got out in elementary school, I ran for like vice president of student council. And then I guess that kind of connects to now being vice chairman of the Democratic Party. Certain things, they start when you're young and they just seem like they might be fleeting, but they dig in deep when you're younger and you actually care about them. And then what am I, 35 now? So 17 years later, essentially, 17, 18 years later, I'm still kind of in the same sphere of interest that I liked back then. So yeah, high school was just really figuring myself out. And luckily I was smart enough to get by, even though I was going through so much, again, being like closeted. So college is really, if you want to keep going into like the whole path, college is where, I really broadened my education. I went to a good high school, one of the best public schools in Baltimore City, which is where I'm from, Baltimore, Maryland. Didn't live in the best area, but I went to a good school, and that prepared me for college. So I knew how to handle things. I knew how to, it just seemed like just a little step up. But it let me broaden my education and let me pursue my interest even more. One of the things that I also kind of track forward from back then is I decided to get into marketing as what I was going to study in college and high school. Just because I was sitting around watching ads. I was like, these ads are garbage. I can do so much better than this. Who are they trying to appeal to?
Yeah.
And so I did a capstone class in high school, and it's pretty much just an independent study, and you gave a presentation at the end. I did that on marketing, learned so much more about it, and then I was like, boom, I'm just gonna study that in college. So I didn't have that period where you're in college and you don't know what you're gonna do, and you waste like a year's worth of loans or financing, or if you're paying for it yourself. So I was lucky in that way, and that is also kind of what got me into politics, because
Those ads.
yeah, like these people are going horrible. Like, they can do better than this. So I, like, to fast forward, I decided once I moved to Albuquerque, which was 10 years ago, I realized, okay, well, you don't really vote for the primary candidate. The delegates do. So it's like, well, then I want my vote to count, like specifically count towards what's going to happen. So again, I was an introvert, but I took a risk. And if that's one thing I can say, if you're going to take away from anything I say, is taking risks, speaking confidently, and asking questions. And that's what I did, because a lot of people think if they ask questions, they seem dumb. Everybody knows only smart people ask questions, because they're confident enough to know that nobody's going to think they're stupid for asking a question to get clarity. People often think I guess I'm smart, but people think I'm smart because I speak with confidence about whatever I'm talking about. And when I don't know what I'm talking about, I kind of keep my mouth shut and ask questions. So you're always in a spot where you seem like you're in control. So, I took a big risk. Again, it was not my personality to come and be in front of a bunch of people I don't know and say, hey, vote for me. I guess technically in elementary I did that, but I'm a very different person. I developed insecurity since being a toddler. But I took that risk, and I reached out, and the lieutenant governor reached back out to me, the state auditor. He's state auditor now, but at that time he was a candidate for lieutenant governor. They reached out to me just because I wrote an email talking about why I wanted to be involved and asking a bunch of questions. And they reached out to me, and I didn't get elected that first day I went because, again, nobody knew who I was. But they said, just keep coming around. I was like, that's the thing I don't want to do. I'm not, I'm a little bit of an introvert. But I did it. I took another risk, and we showed up at the convention, and Deb Holland was the party chair at that time, our soon-to-be Secretary of the Interior. So she was very helpful, bringing me in, and I ended up being a delegate that next day, being voted for a delegate alternate, but I still got to go to the 2016 DNC. And that was amazing. You meet everybody you see on TV, everyone from Al Sharpton to Michael Steele, who was the former lieutenant governor of Maryland. These Republicans, so blah. But I happened to be a Democrat, But I still took a picture with him. I gave him a little ribbing about why he's not on Fox News since he's so conservative. But so he took the joke well. We took some pictures. You just get to meet a lot of people, a lot of other young go-getters. There are several other young people there from different states. And one thing I'll say about New Mexico, if you have the dedication, you can go far. In Maryland, the way I can call up a senator here and they'll know who I am. Like the federal senators in Maryland, man, your family had to have been doing that for the last 100 years. And then still there's going to be a waiting list to do anything. So that is one thing I noticed about New Mexico, that if I can convey that message, get involved. You'll go far if you actually want to. Again, just speak with confidence, ask questions, and people will kind of endear themselves to you. A lot of people are really open and looking for others to join. Like myself, I'm looking for other people to join. They're even high school chapters. But outreach has always been something I cared about, whether it's marketing outreach or outreach to communities in need, like our homeless population, people experiencing homelessness. I joined the board of the Supportive Housing Coalition about 5 or 6 years ago, became the vice president of the board. And they're statewide, Albuquerque, Gallup, and Las Vegas, New Mexico, trying to, put an end to homelessness. And we did a lot of good work. The day was Tim Keller, so the mayors of each one of those cities declared it Strikeout Homelessness Day. It was September 29th, I think 2017 or 18, because we were doing good work in all of these cities. So they gave us that little recognition. And, I really am proud of that and proud of the work we did as a coalition of organizations within the state trying to end homelessness. And I kind of realized that, I was trained in business and my graduate studies in business, and I own a marketing firm, but I wasn't feeling super fulfilled. Once I termed out of the board for Supportive Housing Coalition, I was like, well, what am I doing now? I mean, making money is great. Sending a check to donate is great, but it didn't really fulfill me. So in the middle of the pandemic, I was like, well, let's do something else. So I had volunteered with Roadrunner Food Bank before. So I was like, well, let's try there. And, I just saw everything they were doing. My management background was a really good fit. So I was like, well, I can tie myself into that. And, I've been personally involved now in handing out meals to about 48 to 5,300 households in the state. The network is much more vast. We've done about 36 million pounds in the 16 counties that Roadrunner operates in 2020. And our goal for the fiscal year is 50, and we're on track for 56 million pounds in the state. So it's my job there is to spread the network, because if we get these millions of pounds of food and we don't have anywhere to put them, it just rots. So, that's my job there, to build out the network and make sure that we have partners so that we can get food to people. It's one of the most food insecure states in the nation. So that's kind of where I am now and what I do, other than being vice chair and my business on the side. Yeah, all this hair, it's hard to wear so many hats. That's telling you that.
Yes, you are wearing a lot of hats. And, I want to go back to what you said about high school and a couple of things. I think you said high school is kind of where you learned that you could get by, and you kind of learned how to be a student, which really served you in college. Mm-hmm. And that's a skill that I think that our students don't realize is a skill, because when they're learning the material, they're not thinking about the process of learning. So you learn that process early on. Mm-hmm. And when you were in college, you were able to apply that skill. It's kind of like a test taking skill, but
exactly.
Student. But it wasn't without obstacles. It sounds like you were in the closet, you were in Baltimore, the demographics of that city, it's kind of like a very large Albuquerque with, the diversity there, the socioeconomic statuses. It's a huge variety. Mm-hmm. And so having to navigate that as a young man, just so many challenges. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, being a young Black man,
right?
I hope you survive, because statistics that they just love throwing at us all the time. Right. You might end up in one of a few negative situations. I used to go to middle school right where Freddie Gray got his spine severed by a cop who, I guess that's just what needed to happen, apparently. So all those protests that were happening, that's right where I would walk to middle school. It was tough. I spent some time with my family growing up in the projects, maybe about 5 years or so. And having a strong family base. At that point, my parents were separated and weren't divorced yet, but it was still, essentially a single parent household. And I got my strength from seeing that she wouldn't just give into these things, because I saw everything that was happening around me. I was pretty astute as a young kid. I just didn't engage. And I knew some of my friends who would, but not close friends, but, I would try to pull them away as much as possible. But yeah, it was tough. If I can say anything, it's like when, if you could talk to your younger self and just say, oh, everything's going to be better. It's like, well, it's going to be about 10 years before things get better. But, you don't want to tell yourself that if you could. Right. But right. It does get better. I was depressed every day. I was like mildly suicidal for like a good 2 or 3 years in like high school and like maybe that first year of college, because I wanted to be accepted. But, I made it through, and that's if you stay dedicated and
Well,
trust in
it
yourself.
sounds
Right.
like you, you know, to kind of get to where you are now, you saw the value in education, and you're very rewarded in the services that you're a part of. So, the passion that you have in the Democratic Party and wanting your vote to count and putting your heart into everything you do with the homeless projects and the food banks, you are giving so much to our community. So thank you for coming to New Mexico, and thank you so much for coming on our show. I think that, just from the outside looking in, you may not realize like how big of a difference you're making, but you are everything our students need to see, which is hope and finding reward and giving back to others. And, that time's going to pass anyhow. When you're high school, you blink and then you're 35. That's when,
Right.
we hope that we all have time to find our passions and to find the rewards in service, which I think I found on my own journey. You have found in yours. And then share it with others. And hopefully you'll help somebody along the way. And that's what we're trying to do, is just pick you guys up, show you some hope, and show you some options. And so, Marcus, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I'm definitely inspired. And thank you for taking the time to be with us. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Okay. So next we have Gabby Hernandez. She has many, many academic accolades. She has a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, a master's degree in government. She is involved in medical device sales with a history in cardiology, pacemakers, and now she works with nerve modulations. She is smart as she is gorgeous and strong. She's also a competitive bodybuilder and just all around awesome person. Gabby, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Miss Chavez. Happy
Hi.
Monday. Happy to be here.
All right. So you have also done so much like Marcus, where I think our students and even myself can be overwhelmed by all that you've done and think, how? So why don't you start with your story of young Gabby in high school and what you were thinking then and how you got to be where you are today?
Well, I would say young Gabby in high school, even up to today, there's some things about me that have just kind of really stayed constant. I always did a lot. So I played volleyball, I played basketball, I did track, I was involved in all these different clubs. I did drama, I did speech meet, I did science. And a lot of that is like, I just have a strong sense of you need to experience all these things so you can figure out like what is the thing that motivates you and you're most passionate about. And the other thing that happened when I was young is having to have so many activities all the time. It allowed me to be like, you can have too much time. That's all I can say. You can have too much time, especially like as a high school student, and having a finite amount of time to do things, meaning like, when you play sports, you've got practice, you still have homework. It forces you to do a better job of really like prioritizing your time and getting things done. I think you actually become more efficient. You just can see things pretty clearly and get them done. So I participated in several sports. You heard Jessica and I lived overseas. I was a foreign exchange student to France. I lived in the Dominican Republic. I believe that your young years, you need to go and learn and live life and, get outside of your bubble. I went to high school here. I wasn't originally from here, but I went to high school here. And, I would say the hardest part about Albuquerque is people think that this is the only universe that exists. And the nice part is when you're young, when you're in high school or when you're in college, you should go see the other world, because all those things that you learn from there, you get to bring that back and improve your own community. You have a new perspective, you have a new light, you see ways and ideas that you can bring value to this community. I can say, as like being a young person here, it always felt like there were no activities like for a certain age. You either had to be 21 to go to a club, or you were doing toddler stuff. And so going other places and seeing this other life is like, wait, there are other options. But I digress. So I was super active. I then went to college. I've been a very goal-oriented person. My focus is I knew that I wanted to do something where I was going to help people, and I knew that I was going to be in healthcare. And so I actually initially went to school to be a doctor. In fact, I went there on a scholarship where I'd only have to do 3 years of undergrad and go straight into med school. And while I was there, I started to realize, I was like, well, maybe I don't really want to be a doctor. I end up taking like this course. And so then I thought maybe I want to be a researcher. So I did research, discovered I don't think I really want to be a researcher. I took a course in political science and it just blew my mind. And so I finished my 2 degrees. I went ahead and I got a master's, and I was actually headed to law school because I wanted to do patent law. I thought that it was the best marriage of my science background and then my love for political science. Well, along the way, because our goals are not truly linear, they can be twisty turvy. I had a great friend who worked for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and she was only maybe a year or two into her career. And she says to me, "This is amazing. You would be so good at this. You need to consider coming and working for Pfizer." So I do all this research. I was given 2 offers on the same day. I got into law school and I was offered a job at Pfizer.
Fork in the road.
So I decided that I would go try this pharmaceutical thing out. They allowed me to put my admission on hold for a year. And I went and I did the pharmaceutical job, and I was really good at it. I loved it. It is a job unlike any other. And I never knew jobs like this existed, is the other thing. Like you get independence. I knew I wanted a job that allowed me to travel. I travel. I get to be pretty entrepreneurial. I get to run my own business. Every day is a little bit different. And so I worked for a pharmaceutical company. Then I worked for a capital equipment company where I sold like arrhythmia diagnostic equipment. Now I do surgical specialty. And so it's interesting when I tell people this is what I do, there's a lot of confusion. But I was like, well, what does that mean? It's a lot of relationships. So, you learn how to build relationships with people. It's a lot of knowledge. So one of the best things I can say that you can garner from this education, I know that in high school, it feels like you're learning these things that feel completely useless and not applicable to your life. You're like, I don't know. Do I really need this calculus? Who cares about reading Great Expectations? It seems like none of that is helpful. But the truth is, in my current life, I take tests all the time. They will give me information that I have to learn, and I have to learn it to a point where I'm scoring a 90% on tests. Like I get tested. So you have a job, I have to take tests on this information that they're teaching me, and you get small amounts of time. And so the skill of learning, the skill of logic, the skill of math, the skill of like reading things that feel uncomfortable, that you don't understand, that you're having to comprehend, are all skills that I've had to use. Like test taking, which I know there are people who have terrible fears about testing. And I'm like, well, consider that you have to take a test, and if you don't pass, you don't have a job. It's completely different. So it's really like one of the best things I can say that I have gotten later on is how beneficial just a basic understanding that learning is forever. It really, really is. In my jobs, like I was a PACER rep for a while. The training for them is about 18 months long. So, and it is, you learn something in a book, and then you have to be able to take what you learn and do it practically. So you have to be in an operating room with the doctor, with the patient. You don't want to kill anybody. You don't want to do the wrong things. And so even if you don't think you want to be a doctor or an attorney or this other thing, learning is forever. And like the more that you get comfortable with that, and it's really getting comfortable in things that are uncomfortable. So like subjects that are like uncomfortable is like, well, I just hate that. It's like that's the area that you're going to have to work on because you need all of this. So it's how I've arrived where I am now. So I mean, and then being able to be somebody who can work independently. And that is something that I was able to learn. So like, being able to figure out how to adequately use your time, like that is a life skill. And so that's how we arrive here. And and now I do stuff in ORs.
Well, just to find the pattern between you and Marcus. Both of you learned very young how to be a student, how to take these tests. And that skill allowed you to take it to the next level of being super successful because you know the system of how to study. You're not resisting the knowledge. You're kind of accepting it. There's this acceptance piece that comes to looking for the greater good, which this is going to serve me in this other part of my life. So I think that that's just a huge kind of eye-opening moment for our students is what tests are going to be a part of my life potentially forever? Yes,
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're in medical sales. I am a school counselor. I know Marcus is in politics and marketing, but that doesn't mean we stop studying or we stop having tests in our life. There's still licenses. And with you, there's lives on the line that you need to know your stuff to teach the doctors. I don't think a lot of people realize that medical device experts are teaching our doctors.
Correct. We are in the room with them. I am in the room with them. I am guiding them. I am offering them advice. I am doing testing on the patient. I'm telling them what's happening. We are a team. So that is correct. So I think it's interesting that, your doctors are incredibly intelligent, but we are specialists in this particular field and about everything about these devices and how they are supposed to appropriately function and interact with the patient. So that is correct. We are there actively teaching and working with them in every single procedure. So we have to know it even better so that they have a subtle question like, what is this algorithm, or how does this algorithm work, or which way do I put this needle? What is it that you're seeing on this fluoroscopy? Like, you're expected to be a different kind of expert. So we're the other part of the team that helps your grandma's procedure go smooth.
Right. And that's something I think I learned this year in speaking with you and other people that are in that similar field, whether it's like dental sales device, the same kind of story is you're showing the doctors how to use this equipment and you're responsible in, partnering with them. And that's where that relationship building comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, such a huge, valuable skill in addition to learning how to be a student, but learning how to build relationships with people.
And learning how to network. I would say even for the kids now, like every person you touch, like if you have a job at Dion's, understand that every person you touch in that job can affect your future. I actually worked, I had come home. Part of what also got me in this interesting situation, I had come home to visit. I took an 8-week job at TGI Fridays. One of the VPs at Sandia National Labs ended up being my customer. I had such good service. We talked. He asked me where I was going to school for. He gave me a job that summer. So it's one of those, like I ended up working in this super special group where I was actually part of their think tank. They sent me on trips all over the world where I helped them to create ideas. They sent me to learn how to do like programming. I designed like web pages. So everything you do, no matter how minute that person is, you don't know how they're going to affect the rest of your future. So all these decisions, all these people that you're interacting with, it is a key to learn how to treat people well in everything you do. You just have no idea what that connection is. I mean, I've been on a plane, I was on a plane once, and the person who sat next to me ended up being somebody I had been trying to connect with for like the last year, and they happened to sit next to me on a plane.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just a valuable lesson that even in high school, your job that you think is menial, that you don't show up to with a great attitude and with fervor, that starts to make a trend and creates a spiral for what can happen for the rest of your life. And so it's to just start understanding, especially like in high school, these things are really making an impact on kind of like who you're going to become. And I think the big thing is like you don't necessarily have to have all the answers right now, but I think the key is to be working. It's like, okay, I'm going to learn, I'm going to do this. And learning for all of us is different. Like when Marcus said learning for him was really easy, I actually had to work a little bit harder. I had excellent grades, but I was not someone who just had to look at it and I would know it right away. No, I had to put effort into it. Like I was someone who absolutely had to put effort into my learning and effort into my accomplishments. But I'm so happy that it was difficult because everything in my profession is that kind of difficult. Like I've had to like learning how to put that effort in was a good thing in the long run.
Right. So you're able to handle that next level of difficulty
Yeah,
and
it's like,
challenges.
like, oh, did they almost die? It's okay. I'm not stressed.
Right. Right. And I'm telling you, the things you and I have in common are we both started our career paths to be doctors. And here I am a school counselor. There you are, with it sounds like you could have gone anywhere, but you found something that really suited your personality with the independence, traveling, um, being a free spirit. So that's like that connected with you as a person. Um, but I'm very curious to ask you this. So a lot of our students nowadays, when you and I were in high school, there was no social media. There was really no cell phones. That was very new. So what would you say to high schoolers now with cell phones and social media and all the huge distractions that they have in their world? How would you have tackled that, with your mindset back then?
So, first of all, I think that they have to look at all the advantages that they have with social media. And I don't think that they're often using them in the best way possible. So, it's cool to be able to Snapchat, send TikToks. And I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to be a media star, but there are so many amazing like resources that are out there on social media. And you could really be using it more to your benefit. Like you can use it to connect with people all over the world. Like this is a great opportunity. Maybe you want to learn another language or you want to learn about another culture and you get the opportunity to experience that. I would say like in this era, like you need to use social media to your benefit. Like a lot of even my connections now, like I'm constantly connecting to people with LinkedIn. I never would have been able to find these people otherwise. I do my own day trading as well. So I've got my own Robinhood account. I've got I've got my own Bitcoins that I trade. So I've also been using social media as a platform to learn about building another kind of wealth. So the thing that is important to learn is that the people that you are making your models and your heroes, they started their crafts when they were high schoolers. Like they started programming when they were in high school. So whatever your passion is, like really use social media to benefit that passion. If you like makeup, oh my goodness, you have this amazing platform. You have an amazing platform to do tutorials. You have an amazing platform to learn the basics behind it. Maybe you can make a cleaner, better line of makeup. You like hair? Great. This is a great platform. So I think the biggest thing is to really understand that it needs to be more than just your entertainment and a distraction. Like use it as a resource to
Yes,
grow.
right. Definitely. I think that
And no FOMO. FOMO is the worst thing. Like really like live your life on social media, understanding that a lot of people aren't giving us the full story.
yeah,
And so don't use them as like a marker for where you should be, but you continue, like you could get to your point of success at 17, 18, or 55. And it's
right,
okay whenever that happens.
right. And FOMO is fear of missing out. I just had to recently learn what that meant. So
Oh,
I'm glad I knew. I don't know if they knew, or it's like the new YOLO, right? No, I don't know.
YOLO's you only live once, but yeah, FOMO's completely different.
Yes, that self comes. What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Focus on yourself and your goals, and using social media as a means of inspiration and as a tool of resources versus kind of self deprecation or
Yep.
making yourself look bad and comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, I wish I had social media, but you know what's interesting is even in the time that we didn't have social media in the same way, I remember I had pen pals. Like I got on these like different pen pal sites. I used to like write letters to people all over the world and they'd write me letters and we would exchange different things. Like, you know, I just have I have always been a student of the world, even as like a young kid. Like I have always had this desire to go and see things that I read about in a book and to connect to other communities. And, you know, going and having those experiences, it helps you to grow and even more than just having a career. Understanding that the world is a bigger place than you are, it really changes your heart. Just like you wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a doctor, but guess what? We both are still doing what our passion is, meaning that we are doing something that is really in service to other people. You are helping them as a counselor. Like every product, everything I've ever done, part of why I left medicine and went to devices is a pacemaker immediately changes someone's life. The neuromodulator, it immediately improves someone's life. So to be able to make an impact on someone's life, like, you know, it is a career that feels very rewarding. And this is the thing, I think everybody needs to understand that if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you are a doctor, if you're an attorney, if you just, you know, have a cleaning service, all of those things are truly in service to other people. And so once we find what our gift is to give back, to understand that whatever that is, that's not a problem. And it's a great gift that we can give. And we're helping to improve other people's lives. And that's when your job, it's just like you can feel passionate about it as well. And that's how, you know, when everybody's so focused on making a certain amount of money, when you're doing something that you're really passionate about, you become innovative, you'll work hard at it, and the money will come.
Right. I couldn't have said that. I would like to copy and paste that and say it again because it's so true. I think a lot of us leaving high school, we're chasing that dollar. How can I make the most money? Um, a lot of us kind of follow the path of what our parents want us to do, and we don't listen to ourselves till there's this resistance like, okay, I can't do this. This is not in line with my personality. And once you find something you love to do and you have other rewards other than money, you don't feel like you're working a day in your life. And every day is like an adventure. And what can I do now? How can I improve? And you're just that much better of an employee and a happier person overall. So I love
100%.
the message.
Also, if you guys are ever interested, I help teach courses and I help kids with doing resumes and goal setting because I think the other big issue is I don't see this a lot in high schools where people are really understanding how to get to what they say they want to do. So if someone shows up and they're like, "Hey, Miss Chavez, I want to be a neurosurgeon." Okay, that's cool, but let's talk about what that path really looks like. Because I feel like, you know, you need to, when you create these dreams and you want them to happen, you need to start doing the things that it takes to make the dreams happen. And it's like, how do I get there? Well, I want to be an entrepreneur. People think you have to go to school to be an entrepreneur. No, you don't. That is something that you can start doing right now. So it's like, okay, it's really understanding what are all the things that I could be doing. I would help kids with understanding like getting internships. Like I think that for some reason there is an attitude that I'm going to suddenly grow up and be an adult and be in what I'm doing. No. You start working toward that when you're 12, 13, 14, 15. All of those things are just building really small little habits toward whatever your bigger goal is. And so, you know, I think that that's one of the biggest things to understand is like goal setting is such a great skill. It's something you can do every day. It's something you can do even with your classes. Like you can be a D student and still set goals. You can be an F student and still set goals. You know what I mean? And it's learning how to set goals that seem realistic and achievable. If you're an F student, it's like, okay, well, I want to graduate from high school. How am I going to get there. And you know what? It's like, okay, what little things can I change in every day so that I can get closer? And these are skills for life. And it's cool because you really get to start doing that in high school. And I think that sometimes between family expectations, life, and I mean, all these expectations that we place on ourselves is like, well, I have to be doing this. No, you know what? Right now, we just need to focus on these small things. And then so much of whatever is the rest for us, as long as we are actively in that, we're going to get there. There's no way I thought that this is what I was going to be doing. And I didn't even know these kinds of jobs existed. Like, so it's pretty insane.
And, you know, everything you said about the goal setting being kind of an afterthought in our, you know, school mindset and the culture of the, you know, daily grind with doing the stuff, we forget and we put our goals kind of aside as like an afterthought, like I'll get to those, but those need to be kind of formulated now and continuously, you know, take steps towards them.
Yeah, and the goals can change. I think that's the other thing that's really good to learn is like,
Mhm.
okay, well, we tried these things and they can change. I think it's just really hard sometimes as you are in high school and as you're getting closer and closer to the end, all the pressure that is associated with finishing school, especially when you may be around people, it seems like, oh, they're so much more successful, or they're smarter than I am, or they're this. A lot of times they're not even smarter. It's just about sometimes the application. And, you know, you having access to the internet means you have access to the whole world. You need to like spend some time just kind of like looking up things, you know, connecting with other people. And that's the coolest thing is that you can connect with anyone. I have found that through a lot of these platforms, especially in the world that we're living in today, that so many people are very open to giving you free knowledge, giving you this free information. And so in this time where it seems like we are very distanced from people, we can be so much closer. And I just suggest all this extra sort of time that you have and this internet time that you just use it to your advantage. You know, go investigate some other things that you maybe would not have had access to in the past. And people who are probably more willing and more open, who've got more free time than they would have had before. So, and the other thing is like our working landscape is absolutely changing. So the more comfort and familiarity you have with using these kinds of platforms in a smart, intuitive way, like you're going to bring so much value to these future generations. And so, you know, just because you're in high school, you don't have to make all the decisions, but you can take baby steps at this point.
Right. Baby steps. And I think another strong message she had was explore your world. You're young. You have the rest of your life to work and to go to school. But this is the time where you should start putting the feelers out like, what do I enjoy? What do I like? That self discovery is a huge part of finding a career that you're happy in.
And, you know, and I'm going to tell you, I set this big goal. Like, I knew I wanted to go to France. I was like, I want to go to France. I was like very in love with like art history. I wanted to go to the Louvre, Musée d'Orsay. I knew that this was something I was like, I am going to do this before I leave high school, which this is a massive goal. My mother was like, I only have this much money to contribute toward this. You have to figure out how to get the rest. And I created my own business. I made money and I went and I had this experience. And so like, and it was terrifying because I also didn't speak French. I went and I lived with people who didn't necessarily speak my same language. I was incredibly uncomfortable. And it was amazing. And it was like this great opportunity of growth. I came back, I spoke significantly more French than when I went. And so I would say like, you know, if you have these kinds of dreams, like you should go do them because something about achieving something like that, dreaming that big and then going and doing that, like it really changes you and it makes you realize like you are only limited by the way that you limit yourself. Not only that, you learn that other people live different ways and that's okay. And it's okay. It's like, oh, wait, I don't have to live exactly like this, or I don't necessarily have to do exactly what my parents did. Like, it just allows you to have this other kind of freedom of perspective that you can do other things. So I think that travel at a younger age and just like exploring your world even if you're exploring it virtually right now, you look at some places like that, you want to go and have this experience, like you should go and do it. And if you decide to come back to New Mexico, you bring so much value and diversity to this culture. So that's my big thing.
I love it. I love it.
And you're no longer afraid to travel and to travel by yourself. I'm away from home about 2 to 3 days every single week. And that's like, for a lot of people, it's super scary. The idea, like the coordination, it's like, how do I do this? You go do that and you're like, oh, it takes away that fear. Because I think there's a lot of fear associated with like going somewhere without your family or without a friend. Like I go places by myself and go meet people I've never met before. And I have to just walk in. I'm like, I don't know if they want me there or not, but we'll see what happens. And so
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so it's truly beneficial. It's a great thing to have happen. So those are all the things I have to contribute. Anybody wants to know more about doing crazy medical cell stuff? I'm totally here for them to learn. And
we're gonna have to bring you back. Both you and Marcus, you're coming back. I think for those watching today, this definitely was inspiration for me. I'm sure it was for them too, but thank you for showing us like the window that you look out of your world in, which is different than all of our windows, but it's again that eye-opening, like, wow, that's possible. And so thank you for sharing everything you shared.
When I was in high school, I remember I had this thought. I remember the first time I got to travel for school, I think we went for a volleyball game, and I was like, I am going to travel for work. I was like, I don't know what I will ultimately end up doing because I wanted to be a doctor. I was like, but I'm going to have a job where I get to travel. And that's what I did.
Right. And you love it. I mean, I can just, not everyone is meant to be 9 to 5 behind the same desk every day. And so this is, you found your gift and you've applied it to the world and you're sharing that with everyone. So those that don't feel like they're the 9 to 5 desk people can see what else is out there and the opportunities they have. Amazing. Well, I don't want to keep you. I know you're a super busy woman. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
You, Marcus, were awesome. Everyone, thank you for watching at your homes. We miss you. We look forward to seeing you again. And we'll see you in March at the next Monty's Career Monday. Thank you.